Welcome to my channel. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate it so much. For those who have been following me, as always, continue to follow me. I'm so grateful for the 141 subscribers that I have. Let's get that number up, though. I've been on that 141 train for a while now. So if anyone's been watching my stuff and hasn't subscribed, please hit that subscribe button and that notification button for more updates. So those who have been joining me for the first time, I hope you like what you see. If you like movie reviews and you like short films, independent short films, I have some in my YouTube channel, on my YouTube channel. So please check them out and hit that subscribe button and that notification button as well. And yeah, as I stated last video, the update video that I talked about my sci-fi project, Celestial Echoes, Tears of the Stars, that I was going to see either A Quiet Place Day 1 or Maxine. And I did end up seeing A Quiet Place on Sunday before work. And yeah, this is the movie review for A Quiet Place Day 1. Let's get straight to it. A Quiet Place Day 1, what can I say for this film? I like the franchise. I enjoy the first two films, preferably the first one if I had to choose out of the two. A Quiet Place Day 1, it would be last on my list of the three. It was watchable. I just didn't enjoy it like the other two, especially the first one. I felt like it was a step back. And, even though it was a prequel, and you may think that, being a prequel, it may not be as good. And sometimes, depending on how you do a prequel, it can be very good. Maybe even better than the first one or just as good as the first one. I can't recall many prequels being better than an original. But let's say video games, you got Snake Eater, Metal Gear Solid Snake Eater. It's probably better than the first Metal Gear Solid game or just as good as Metal Gear Solid. So, it's possible because of the way the stories are created and where the franchise takes you, at least for that film, where it takes you, that can either elevate the film that is meant to be followed after that story, like the first one, or sequels that it allows for an expansion to possibilities. And hopefully that made sense. But I didn't feel that for this film. It follows Lupita Nyong'o's character. If I jacked your name up, I'm sorry, Lupita. I don't know why I'm saying Lupita. It's Lupita. And Joseph Quinn. If you don't know who Joseph Quinn is, and it's funny because I can't recall anything he's done other than Stranger Things. He was Eddie Munson in Stranger Things, who was a great character in Stranger Things. And it's funny because one of the ads for the film A Quiet Place Day 1 is basically people, like, when they make Twitter comments or so, saying, "Oh, that's Eddie Munson, I didn't recognize him," and such, just based off of the ad of the movie, kind of just letting you know, oh, by the way, this is the actor from Stranger Things, he's in our film. Because I don't think he was, I'm sure he was in other things, but nothing that was recognizable to people. So, they had to just be like, by the way, other than Lupita, we have Joseph Quinn. If you don't know who that is, he's from Stranger Things, and that's actually part of like one of the TV ads just to promote the film. I thought that was pretty funny. But it follows them. Really, Lupita, she's the main character, and she's in hospice. She's dying, and then you have a nurse who invites her to a show in the city, and she's like, she only goes because she wants pizza. She's like, if we can get pizza, fine. And it's not the type of show, when they go, it's not the type of show that she assumed. So she wants to leave, and when she tries to leave, she decides I guess she takes a walk and eventually comes back, and it's like, okay, we gotta go. The nurse gets a notification that something's happening in the city, and he eventually tells her, we gotta go on the bus, we gotta go back to hospice. And she's like, I want my pizza, you promised pizza. And that's her thing. My cousin told me there's a specific reason why she wants the pizza. It's like, it has meaning, which I didn't catch. I know her father, played the piano, and they go elsewhere to where I believe the father played, but she wanted pizza. So it might have done something to do with that, like the father and having pizza after like his playing or something in Harlem. And that's when the aliens, like the asteroids or whatever, hits the bus and everywhere in the city. And it's like, what's going on? She's very like covered in dust, and people are yelling and getting taken by something that she can't see until eventually she sees one. And instead of getting her, because she's been quiet the whole time, it gets somebody else, and she's able to like run, away. And eventually, I think is that she gets knocked out and she awakens at the theater because they saved her. And you have Digimon Hanzo. I don't know if I said his first name right. I believe he was in the second film. You see him in this film, and he's the one that I guess when she wakes up, he like tells her to be quiet. So a lot of it's like early in the beginning, they already know to be quiet because they can't hear you. If they can't see you because, if you don't make noise, they won't be able to hear you, but they're not reacting to people. I guess they realize they're not reacting to people that like are right in front of them unless they're moving. So they don't really like explain that, by the way, you can't say nothing other than just stay shut. And it's like already understood. Like, all right, they won't come after me even if I'm like right in front of them. She does have a cat, Lupita's character, a service cat, and I don't know. I feel like I was expecting something with this cat because when they introduced Joseph Quinn coming out of the subway where there's like a lot of water, he was just by the steps and he like pops out. He sees the cat and there's like a little connection there, and he follows the cat and it leads him to Lupita, who eventually leaves the Broadway spot because she's like, I'm gonna just go get pizza. But at the same time, the nurse guy that took care of her ends up dying, and his death. Which, by the way, he's the actor from, he's in a lot of movies, but he was the main kid from Welcome to the Jungle, Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle, that when he goes into the game, he turns into The Rock. His character, Dwayne Johnson's character, and I didn't recognize him at first because he has a full beard and he has like the long hair with the man bun. Like, it's a good look for him. Prior to the other films, he always looked like this young kid, and now he looks like a grown adult, and I feel like he can do action films, so shout out to that actor. I forgot his name, but if you know what I'm talking about, he has like the mole or birthmark like here. And he's done a lot of films. I think he was in Hereditary, and he's done a lot. But he eventually dies because in the Broadway area, this machine activates and it starts making noise. So he goes to shut it off. And the creatures, while the noise is happening, no creatures react to it. Prior to that, when, the helicopters or the jets fly by warning people to like stay in or something, be quiet, they're chasing the sound of the jets and the planes. And when that thing is going off the machine, which is very loud, there is no reaction. Like, there's an inconsistency to the noise making and the aliens reacting. So he shuts off the machine from making noise, and he's like, a sigh of relief, which you don't do that because then the next moment you move, you're dead. And when he does move, his shirt rips, and you hear like the ripping, and then he turns, like he stops, he turns, and then out from the shadows is the alien. Now, yeah, you have the aliens that they're like stop to look if they hear like a little tiny something. But that was a big noise for them to not just react, especially just having one alien. So there's a lot of inconsistency with noise making in this film. There's a lot of whispering. I think I would be able to hear Lupita's whispering more than Joseph Quinn's whispering at one point. I didn't really like it. It was a little too quiet for me. It just wasn't done well like the other two films when it comes to that. And I know I'm probably having more negative than positive for this film. The great positive of the film is the interaction between the two characters, because Lupita wants nothing to do with Joseph Quinn's character who's following her. And she's like, why are you following me? And he wants to be with her. He's like, he don't want to be alone. He's from London. And he was only going to law school. And then this happened. And it's like, it's like the cat brought them together, which, by the way, the cat throughout the whole film does not make any noise whatsoever. And my phone has been falling, so I apologize. It's been making no noise throughout the whole film, and I'm just like, that's not believable for me. At one point, he goes to go get medicine for Lupita, so he goes off to the street, which, by the way, I'll get into the whole fear factor of, like, the feeling of these people. Because things are out there. Yeah, you still want pizza. Yeah, you're on your deathbed, but you still want pizza. But then you're, like, fearful of the aliens, but not fearful enough to, I'm just going to travel out there and try to get pizza despite these things out there. It just didn't make sense. But anyways, he gets the medicine for her. The cat somehow joins him, and he's like, okay, let's go back home, to where they end up at this church spot. Not home, but they ended up at this church spot. That sequence was cool when they went in a tunnel and going in the water. but like the cat goes off into this area, which I guess the aliens kind of like, it looked like a home at one point for them. And the cat climbs on the beams because it's like a construction site. So he decides to get the cat, knowing that the aliens are around. You're going to try to climb to try to get the cat. You're putting yourself at risk. And, you know, the sound like he's making, like the climbing, like the rubbing, you didn't really hear metal clanging, but you know there's noise. And I just didn't, I just was unbelievable for me. At one point, while trying to reach for the cat, the alien is like big. It pops up right next to him on the beam, trying to hear him. And it's like his fear, he's scared, obviously scared. But at one point, when they were doing that water sequence in the tunnel before getting to the church, and he's in the water, I don't know if he was hyperventilating or something, that he's like started to breathe and almost trying to make, cry out. And Lupita had to cover his mouth. And he makes a noise, and that's when the alien chases them in the water, and it eventually drowns. But they make their way out of the water and into the church, because I guess one of the asteroids crashed and broke through from the church into the sewers. But like there's inconsistency with his fear and his reaction, because now while the alien's there, you're like, man, again, I don't know how that works with fear and hyperventilating and all that, whatever was going on with him. Because at the ending towards the film, when they're trying to get to the boat, he knows the aliens are carrying the boat and focused on the boat while they're away from the area by the cars, and he's like getting that feeling again, and Lupita's like trying to calm him down and gives him the service cat, because the cat is like really helpful with that. And he starts again to react like he's hyperventilating, and I'm like, why all of a sudden now, when throughout the whole film you're trying to watch the aliens and you're running and you're not acting like that? Like, I don't know, I don't know how things work with that, but I just didn't feel like there was some consistency there. Speaking of Lupita and, giving him the service cat at that point, at the ending, she's dying. So once I found out she was dying already, I knew that she was probably going to sacrifice her life for Joseph Kid's character so he can escape it while she makes noise and runs off. So he can, get the boat, which he does. Even though at one point he's running, he steps on a can or kicks it, they hear it, they chase him, but he makes it into the water because they can't swim like that. But I could have sworn in the first one they somewhat were swimming. Guess it wasn't that high, the water. But anyways, what destroyed her character for me, like any interest, was that she's dying. And I'm not saying characters who are dying shouldn't be lead characters or anything, but it just kind of took away the element for a survival film with her character gonna die anyway. Like, it was just pointless in that aspect. So I didn't like that. And I already knew that she was gonna sacrifice herself for him to escape. Even though she lives, she doesn't sacrifice herself. She sacrifices her ability to be saved, because she knew she was dying anyway. So she makes the noise to distract them while he runs off, even though he kicked the cat and he was chasing him, but he lives. But she ends up living towards the end, and she gets to her pizza spot or something. Because I know at one point they go to the bar where her father played, and they had that little moment, and he gets her pizza from somewhere else and puts Patsy on it. They had that little exchange, that connection of, it was a great connection between two people that don't know each other, they're in survival mode, and they just bond. And, it was cool in that aspect. But eventually it just ends with her going into the street, and she's just with her music box that she took from the bar place, with her old iPod, and she's listening to the music and walking. And at one point she just takes out the iPod with the headphones, because it's, she was listening to the headphones, and it allows it to play. And then you see the alien drop, and then the film ends, and she's gonna die, because she's like, I'm gonna die anyway, I might as well just get killed. So I don't know, I just felt like it just took away from me that aspect of her dying. I feel like survival films, you wanna have the character be in good health to, have that worry, like, oh, is this character gonna survive? And if they don't survive or sacrifice themselves in health, they're healthy, but they end up sacrificing themselves. I feel like it hits more in that aspect. But other than that, the film itself, I feel like it didn't go anywhere to, expand the franchise. You know, I get it was a prequel, but was it necessary? I don't think it was a necessary prequel unless it was like put on Netflix and I'll watch it on Netflix. But to spend money to see the film, which was like an hour and 40 minutes, and it felt fast. I just felt like, but where is this franchise leading to next? Like, there could have been a hint of something to come, maybe after credits. Maybe there wasn't. I wasn't stay for after credits, or something at the ending to like, by the way, while the credits are well, again, I didn't see the after credits, but like before the credits, where it could have implied the future and how after the second film, like what's happening or what's being planned. Like maybe they just don't have an idea. Like how do you combat these things? But like what's out there? Is there still military things going on happening out there? Where did the aliens spread to? Because in the film they destroy the bridges in New York so that the aliens don't go anywhere else. So I don't know if they're contained in New York. Was the first film set in New York somewhere? Because they're in the field where, you know, the farm or something in the first two films, but it's like, I can't remember. I don't know if it was in New York, but I know the bridges were destroyed. So, you know, they're contained in New York, but I don't know where else the asteroids with the creatures. I can't remember if they mentioned it throughout the film, the first film or second film. But I just felt like I needed something to tell me where the franchise is going next, because if it's just going to be different people in different situations where the aliens are around and you gotta try to survive, it's just gonna be the same thing over and over again with no end, no point. Don't get me wrong. If I like a franchise, I like to see it continue, but I like to see something new, something fresh. Let me know where it's going. And case in point, I love the Jurassic Park franchise. I love the first three. The third one, it took a while for me to appreciate it, but I enjoyed the third one as well. 1, 2, and 3. Each one had its differences. And then when Jurassic World, the Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom and then Jurassic World Dominion came out, each of those were different and they went to a new direction, and now they're coming out with another film, Jurassic Park, that I'm sure is going to go in a new direction. Probably a reboot, but not like the others didn't go, matter before it. Just that it's a whole new thing now, new characters, but it's the same world, and I like that. If it's still entertaining for me, I want to see it go elsewhere, and I want to see new characters, and I want to see the world expand. But I didn't feel like that with this film, Quiet Place Day One. And I'm not saying it was a horrible film. It just felt pointless to me, and I would rate it a 5 out of 10, and that's probably lower than it deserves. Maybe 6, but it was just because I felt the inconsistencies didn't make sense to me. The goal of the character and her dying just kind of like didn't, you know, I really didn't care. You know, you want pizza, but there's aliens out there, and you're just like, I don't care at this point. But it's like, you do care to kind of live at one point. It's like, it didn't make sense. I don't know. The acting was great. You know, the film looks great, but I was expecting more, and it just didn't deliver on that. It just felt like, you know, we're going to go back as a prequel, but despite being a prequel, it just doesn't lead up to anything, you know. So, I mean, if you want to watch a film this week and you haven't seen it, I'm not going to stop you. I'm not going to tell you don't see it. I mean, apparently it did good, I believe, in the box office. It made money, but it just wasn't for me. And I just hope that I would see the next one even then, because again, I like the franchise and I just want to see where it continues, if they decide to continue it going forward with, you know, more, see what they do with it. But I was kind of disappointed, and yeah, that's all I got for this review. It just wasn't for me. And yeah, Maxine is probably going to be my next film. It's the third film of that trilogy. X and I forgot, Pearl is the second film, which if you've seen my Pearl review, you know how I feel about that one. It wasn't a bad film, but again, that was just like a prequel. That was also a prequel, the second film. But it didn't really do anything for me. And hopefully Maxine, which is continues after the X, hopefully that one's interesting and good. And, you know, I'll give a review for that soon. So that's my movie review for A Quiet Place Day 1. Thank you for watching. It's probably one of the longest reviews that I've done in a while. So thank you so much. Hit that subscribe button again, that notification button, and check out my movie updates to Celestial Echoes, Tears of the Stars. If you haven't seen the last video, that's being worked on right now. I will say there may be some changes to filming. There are things that I'm talking about with a possible actor that I will be casting. I haven't confirmed it yet, but I had a conversation with somebody who's interested, and I'm interested in casting them. But there's something that it might, for the better of the film, I might make some changes, or there might be something there going, and I'm really excited to get that done. So please be on the lookout for that. And if you haven't seen my latest film, The Brother-in-Law, check out The Brother-in-Law. It's on my YouTube channel right now. I just did the Grove Film Festival that I mentioned, and that was cool. And I'm waiting to see if I can get into other film festivals that I accept, despite it already being on YouTube. I know my film Unknown Within, the last film before The Brother-in-Law that I put out, just got accepted to the Bright Side Film Festival, so I'm excited for that. That'll be held in August, but again, that film is also on my YouTube channel, so please check that out, as well as any of my other films, if you like independent films. And I do a lot of different styles, a lot of different genres, so hopefully it's interesting and you like it. Again, thank you so much for joining me, and until next time, later.